reduce the heat of life between cultures to a manageable simmer, it's likely they lowered the stress levels in your childhood as well. Don't you miss the peace that a good story left behind in your soul? Children's books can still do that good work for adults. Think of children's books as literary vodka. Author Catherine Rundell writes in Why You Should Read Children's Books, Even Though You Are So Old and Wise. She argues that children's fiction helps us re-find things we may not even know we have lost. Reading it as adults takes us back to a time when new discoveries came daily and when the world was colossal, before the imagination was trimmed and neatened. Why do grown-ups stop reading children's books? Why then do most people stop reading children's books when they come of age? I've heard 4 main arguments, but none make sense. First, some people look down on children's books as a lesser literary genre than books for adults. To me, the opposite often seems true. Some grown-up, award-winning novels seem self-indulgent, written to display the author's intellectual prowess, mastery of language, and depth of thought. Children see right through that kind of pretension. They want the author to step aside and give the reader direct access. Storytellers in this genre have to create heroes' journeys with page-turning plots, characters who come alive, and a strong sense of place that transports readers into another reality. To do this, we must become ruthless eradicators of verbal fluff and restrainers of intellectual vanity. Second, we might have stopped reading children's books because adults are embarrassed to be associated with children's activities. But there's no valid reason for shame. There are good books which are only for adults because their comprehension presupposes adult experiences, but there are no good books which are only for children, says W.H. Auden in an essay about Lewis Carroll. Cast aside fear and carry that children's book boldly with you on public transportation, in the cafe, or on holiday. Is there any call for comment if an adult reads them for himself? Asked J.R.R. Tolkien in a lecture. Reads them as tales, that is, not studies them as curios. Adults are allowed to collect and study anything, even old theater programs or paper bags. C.S. Lewis, as was his wont, took on critics of children's literature head-on. Critics who treat adult as a term of approval instead of as a merely descriptive term cannot be adult themselves. To be concerned about being grown up, to admire the grown-up because it is grown up, to blush at the suspicion of being childish, these things are the marks of childhood and adolescence. And in childhood and adolescence they are, in moderation, healthy symptoms. Young things ought to want to grow. But to carry on into middle life, or even into early manhood, this concern about being adult is a mark of really arrested development. When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret and would have been ashamed if I had been found doing so. Now that I am 50, I read them openly. When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. Third, we're told that children's books are moralistic, promoting a particular worldview and designed to inculcate virtues in the reader. Adult books are free from that kind of agenda, right? Not at all. Stories are by nature didactic. George Orwell was blunt about this in Why I Write. No book is genuinely free from political bias. The opinion that art should have nothing to do with politics is itself a political attitude. D.H. Lawrence agreed, saying, "The essential function of art is moral, a morality which changes the blood rather